Knestor Jackdaws, that's a silent K, as in pumpkin. Knestor Jackdaws is a professor of art history from Oxmouth College in England. He is a curator and developer of the virtual museum. Please welcome Professor Knestor Jackdaws, please.
Any good actor should try to find the light. And I'm not an actor, but I'm replacing one, so I'm going to move this if it's all right.
Yes.
It's already done, so that's another good solution. Wow. I'm standing in for Jim Meskimen, who could not make it tonight, and who is off doing something undoubtedly very, very important. You know, he's an actor, so he's probably improving his tan. One of those solar-powered tanning places that they have. I find that the most curious sort of combination of businesses. In any case, Mr. Lewis is absolutely correct. I'm an art historian. First of all, I want to applaud all of you for contributing to this marvelous art center, because as all of you know, and not enough of the people out there really know, the world needs a lot more creation, a lot more artistic contribution by people, wouldn't you agree? That's quite obvious, isn't it? I mean, we don't nearly have the sort of civilization that we'd all love to have. It's not nearly as peaceful and aesthetic and colourful and vivid and enjoyable, is it?
Amen.
In fact, it's rather dreary at times. And so, and silly really, because why would you have a dreary world with so many colourful, lively people in it? It just doesn't make any sense. It's a complete waste of resources. And so a place like this is extremely valuable, and I applaud you. And I, as a art historian, curator, and nincompoop, will help in every sort of way to flow the needed power to such an enterprise, and hopefully it will spawn many, many more. In any case, I wanted to share with you a little bit, a little sample of what I've been working on for the last couple of decades, something I call the virtual museum, yes, to which he alluded. And the virtual museum is a way, we live, first of all, in a digital age, don't we? Yes. It's a tremendously digital age. Probably in your pocket right now, or purse, or handbag, or duffel, you have with you something that has more computer memory than they had in NASA in 1970. I mean, it's staggering the way this has all developed. And so the good part about it is that information can travel, and images and music can travel throughout time and space, it seems, in a nanosecond, which is an extremely small portion of time. A nano anything is bloody small. If someone offers you a nano dollar, don't be too excited. So the good part of that is that we can communicate with one another in an absolute instant. The bad part is that we can also steal from one another in an absolute instant, which is happening all the time. But that's not what we artists are interested in. We're interested in creating and in shunting our messages and our images all over the place as quickly as we can. Why? I don't know, it just seemed like a good idea. So I wanted to demonstrate the virtual museum is an application of that digital technology as applied to all the great works of, really all the great works of art, even those that haven't been created yet. So what I want to do is to give you a demonstration of that. I will bring a work of art from any time in history. It might be a sculpture, it might be a painting and etching, caustic wax painting like the Romans used to do. It might be macrame. I doubt it. But I'll bring it to you, I'll describe it for you, we'll all have a good look at it, and then we'll make it disappear. Does that sound like fun?
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun than I've made it sound. All right, well, what I need to get started with from you is a suggestion. You're all creative people, I know this will be very, very simple, not taxing at all for you. You have a suggestion of the title of a work of art that you make up, one that has never been created before. The title of a work of art you make up.
More art.
More art. More art. Excellent idea. I always take that first. Bright idea, I think that's the best way, don't you? Otherwise we stop to vote on it and get into committees. It's really dreary. More art, as you can see, I'm going to put it right up here. And you can all see it, I think. And more art, I'm just going to move this out of the way so you have an unobstructed view More art, as you can see, is about 1.5 meters tall and 7 feet long. It's measured in meters this way and feet that way, I'm not sure why. And as you can see right away, it is a painting of the early Renaissance period. How can we tell it's a Renaissance period? Well, it's got that, first of all, it's on plaster, isn't it? You can tell it's on plaster because it's really rather cracked. All these little tiny, tiny hairline cracks through it all. It's a fresco, that was of the period, painted on plaster. They painted it apparently on wet plaster. We don't know how, it's an absolute mystery. If you've ever tried to put an oily substance on top of a wet substance in modern day, it's very, very challenging. But back then, supposedly, it was very easy. Time changes. In any case, you see some rather large cracks going through it, but it is a beautiful Renaissance painting or art. And as we see, it's a beautiful depiction, isn't it? As we see immediately, it is an exterior in Italy. We have the beautiful Mediterranean light. There's probably the crepuscular or end of day, twilight kind of light, filtering in from this side. Very lovely. Sort of golden in the hot spots and rather bluish in the shadows. We see that this is a beautiful plaza, isn't it? And it's ringed all about by these lovely, lovely buildings. It's a lovely piazza somewhere. With all these, it's about 3 or 4 stories high, and it goes this way in a beautiful show of perspective. I mean, one actually feels we are able to enter in that space, even though it's just as completely flat as a plaster wall, which indeed it is. We see in the background this ring of buildings here. We see lots of activity in these windows, because of course back then people used to lean out the window. There were no child-proof gates, were there? It wasn't like in one of these dreadful hotels, where if you want to open the window and have a breath of air, you have to use a sledgehammer. They don't let you do it because of insurance purposes, which is all very well and good. But back in the Renaissance, they seemed to do just fine without it. We see people hanging out the windows, we see them waving to one another. This one's pouring something unmentionable out. There's a person sort of pulling in the laundry over here, fellas just waving at another chap, and this one's throwing a lot. It looks like they're throwing, you can see, and from where I am, it's a little easy, he's throwing a baguette at somebody. Just off the scene here. So it's an awful lot of activity in the windows, and there's, of course, a lot of livestock on the plaza itself, human beings and livestock. We see horses over here, aren't they, milling about, looking beautiful in this wonderful end of day light. And we see, as we get out of the shadows here, we see a cluster of people. And in that period, it was not unusual to see crowds of people, in religious garments, all going along in a line like we see here. It looks like a bunch of people dressed in white silk, and someone carrying a wonderful religious icon. We can't see it, it's off, we're seeing it from the side. So we're not sure who the religious icon is of, but it's someone incredibly important because they're all coming behind and very, very dour and serious behind it, also in that beautiful golden light. I should say that this painting was done by a student of Michelangelo's. Not the best student of Michelangelo, but does get an A for effort. He really worked hard at it, and there's just, there's a sort of an irregularity, isn't there, in what you can see in the perspective. The perspective seems to come in and out of focus a little bit, but he's done a smashing job. And here we see, in fact, a self-portrait of the artist here. This figure here, you wouldn't know it unless you'd studied up on it as I have, but this fellow here in the flowing robes carrying the palette of the day, and he's running quite vigorously. He's fleeing, in fact, isn't he? His legs sailing forth. You can actually see the bottom of his sandal here, which infers tremendous amount of flight and momentum. And he's chasing away, holding his palette, and this crowd of people here in the front, who are villagers, passerby, butchers, and they seem to be all dressed with aprons, and they're holding all sorts of things, and they're also running after him. They're chasing him. We see that relationship is very well laid out, and so this student of Michelangelo's, at least to that degree, has created a very believable space. And they're all chasing after him vigorously, smiling, welcoming, beckoning even. You see the woman here, who has even dropped, you can see she's dropped her goat. Otherwise we don't know why the goat is down below with his little hooves in the air. She's obviously dropped him in her excitement, and they're all chasing him. then we can only assume that it is, as the title infers, there is a supplication, a demand, an entreaty for more art. More art. Won't you provide us with more art so that we can lean out of the windows and talk to each other about it? I hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah. You see it. Put it on there. It can be part of your private collection. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.